If you're just the nanny, don't interfere with my child's education. I pay you to take care of him, not to give opinions.
If you're just the nanny, don't meddle in my child's upbringing. I pay you to take care of him, not to give your opinion. The voice cut through the garden like a blade. The guests exchanged awkward looks. Some wanted to laugh, others tried to hide their discomfort. Claire opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out. Her throat tightened, her heart raced. All she could think about was Noah, the 8-year-old boy watching the scene, not understanding why the woman he called Mom was yelling at the person who tucked him in every night. Margaret took a step forward, merciless. "You think you can teach me how to be a mother? Me?" The crowd stepped back slightly, as if sensing something worse was coming. Claire tried to take a deep breath. "I only asked him to eat slowly. He was choking." "You dared correct my son in front of others," Margaret cut in, her voice trembling with rage. "He's well-mannered. He's a Hollingsworth. And you're just paid to stay quiet." The silence that followed was crueler than any scream. Shame burned hot and alive. Claire lowered her eyes, fighting back tears. But little Noah, standing by the table, slowly rose. "She's not just the nanny." The sentence struck like thunder. "She's my real mom," he added, voice trembling but firm. "She's the one who hugs me when I cry." The world stopped. People looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh, comfort, or turn to stone. Margaret froze for a second, then a sharp, sarcastic laugh burst out. "You see? This woman has confused my child. She's reversed our roles. She's emotionally manipulated him." Claire tried to explain. "I never wanted to be anything but what he needed." Margaret stepped closer, finger pointed. "What he needs is discipline, not pity." "Discipline isn't shouting," Claire replied, her voice finally emerging. Steady, almost cold. "It's listening." The murmurs grew. No one had ever spoken to Margaret like that before. The billionaire felt her blood rise. "You're fired," she said, almost whispering. "Now, and be grateful I don't sue you for manipulating my son." Claire stood still, her heart pounding in her ears. Noah ran to her, clinging to her legs, crying. "Don't go, please." Margaret tried to pull him away, but he resisted, crying harder. "I want her." The sound was unbearable. The guests stepped back, uneasy. The scene was too human for a world of marble and crystal glasses. "Enough, Noah!" Margaret shouted, shoving his arm harshly. "You're embarrassing me!" His crying echoed. Claire picked him up and held him tight. "It's okay, honey. It'll be all right." That simple gesture, the hug, shattered the last piece of Margaret's perfect image. "You think you've won?" she said, her voice hoarse. "That you'll walk out of here like a hero? I bet in a week he won't even remember your name." "So that's it?" Claire asked. "A bet? With your own child?" "With the world," Margaret replied. "And I never lose." The guests began to drift away, pretending not to listen. The heavy air felt too thick to breathe. Claire set the boy down, wiped his tears, and lifted her chin. Sometimes losing is the only way to learn what matters. "I don't need a moral lesson from someone who scrubs my floor," Margaret snapped, venomous. "No," Claire said, "but maybe you need someone who looks at your son with a heart, not a wallet." Margaret blinked several times, swallowing her rage. "Get off my property, now." Claire picked up her bag, her face silent. She kissed Noah's forehead one last time. "I'll come back when you call me," she whispered. The boy tried to run after her, but Margaret held him tightly. "She's not coming back, and you'll learn to respect me." But as Claire walked down the path, the boy screamed from inside the mansion, "Don't go, Claire! Don't leave me with her!" The sound was a punch. Margaret closed her eyes, as if the world had stopped breathing. The guests pretended not to hear, but no one could hide their shame. Richard, the husband, watched from a distance. He said nothing, but when Claire passed by him, his voice came in a near whisper. "You shouldn't leave like this. She doesn't understand what she just lost." Claire didn't answer. She just kept walking, breath unsteady, heart torn between anger and pain. The cold wind hit her face, and the mansion lights grew smaller with every step. Behind her, Margaret clutched her son tightly, but the boy stayed rigid, distant, staring out the window. The next morning, the scandal was everywhere. The video recorded by one of the guests had spread across social media before sunrise. Thousands of comments, headlines, jokes. The billionaire who yelled at the nanny. The boy who hugged the one who truly loves him. Within hours, Margaret Hollingsworth's empire of a perfect image began to crumble. But inside the mansion, the war continued under the same polished veneer of luxury. Margaret came down the stairs in her robe, hair flawless, face tense. "Don't show me that video," she ordered the staff. "It's edited. It's fake. People love tearing down those on top." Richard watched her from afar, silent. "Sometimes they just show what's been there all along," he murmured. She pretended not to hear. Noah sat at the table, pushing his cereal around. The silence between mother and son was new, heavy. Margaret tried to sound natural. "You have school soon. Put on the clothes I laid out." He didn't answer. "Are you listening, Noah?" "I want Claire," he said quietly, without looking at her. The spoon fell from the plate, the metallic sound echoing on the marble floor. Margaret closed her eyes, took a deep breath. "Enough of this. That woman is not coming back. Ever. Do you understand?" But her voice faltered on the last word. The boy stood up, his eyes full of tears. "Then you'll never smile at me again either?" The question came out clean, direct, impossible to ignore. Margaret didn't know what to say. She just stood there, motionless, as he climbed the stairs. Upstairs, the boy shut his bedroom door and hugged the teddy bear Claire had left behind. Margaret heard his muffled crying and for a moment thought of going up, but pride anchored her feet. The same pride that had always kept her powerful was now turning into a prison. Hours later, the phone rang. It was her publicist. "Margaret, we need to act fast. The video has millions of views. We have to show that you're human." "Human?" she repeated, irritated. "You want me to apologize to an employee? In public? If you don't, you'll lose contracts. The foundation already canceled next week's event." Margaret walked to the window and looked out at the garden where it had all happened. The same scene, now empty. "Let them talk," she said. "The internet forgets." But the internet didn't forget. While she tried to manage the damage, Claire spent the day trying not to cry. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from strangers, people thanking her, saying they were moved by the boy's hug. She didn't reply to anyone. The small apartment was too quiet. The dress she'd worn to the party still hung over the chair, stained with dried tears. Meanwhile, Margaret prepared for an exclusive interview. The camera crew, makeup artists, lighting, everything perfect. "Do you want me to cry?" she asked, adjusting her lipstick. "No," the advisor replied. "We want you to look remorseful, not fake." She smiled wryly. "Good luck with that." The interview aired in prime time. Margaret spoke of misunderstandings, of differences in context, of internet exaggerations. But the audience didn't buy the act. The original video, the one from the party, was too raw to be erased by speeches. And the more she tried to look in control, the more desperate she seemed. Noah watched secretly from his room. When his mother appeared on TV talking about raising children with love and discipline, he turned down the volume. "You don't know what love is," he whispered. The next day, Margaret changed tactics. She took the boy to a park, surrounded by photographers. She wanted to show the perfect image of mother and son healing together, but the boy stayed distant, indifferent to the cameras. She tried to take his hand. He pulled away. "Help me, Noah," she whispered. "Smile for me." He looked at her sadly. "You can't smile when it hurts." The photos came out the same day. The captions were cruel. "The billionaire who lost her own son's love." That night, Margaret shattered her bedroom mirror with her bare hands. Richard tried to calm her, but she pushed him away. "You don't understand. I gave that boy everything. Everything. Everything but yourself," he replied. She collapsed onto the floor, breathless. Blood ran between her fingers, pride in shreds. "I don't know how to be loved," she whispered. "I never did." Richard said nothing. For the first time, he felt pity, but he also knew she had to hit rock bottom to finally understand what she'd been trying to buy her whole life. Across town, Claire looked up at the same sky. She thought of the boy, thought of the woman who had humiliated her and was now falling apart. She thought of how love was sometimes a curse, because it didn't choose sides, only truths. And while the city slept, a new video went viral online. A small boy sitting in his room, speaking softly into a school camera. "I just wanted everyone to see what I see," he said. "Claire makes me feel safe. And Mom, she only yells because she's scared of being alone." The video lasted only 20 seconds. But it was enough to turn what had been a scandal into something bigger, a mirror. The whole country saw itself in it. In the pain, the absences, the invisible wounds of those who yell just to avoid admitting they loved the wrong way. And for the first time, the silence wasn't against Claire. It was against Margaret. The front page of the newspaper carried a headline in enormous letters: "The billionaire who yelled at her son's love." Below it, a frozen photograph. Margaret Hollingsworth, eyes wide, finger pointed, and behind her, the boy clinging to the nanny. It was just an image, but it looked like a sentence. At breakfast, the servants avoided looking at her. The silence weighed more than the expensive porcelain. Margaret flipped through the newspaper, her fingers trembling. "People love destroying those who succeed," she murmured, but her voice no longer sounded the same. Richard watched her. "People didn't destroy you, Margaret. They just stopped pretending to believe." She slammed the newspaper on the table, furious. "You think that's fair? Years building a reputation and it all comes down to one video?" "No," he replied coolly. "It all comes down to the truth." Noah came down the stairs slowly, eyes downcast. "Good morning," she said, forcing a smile. The boy didn't answer. He walked to the table, picked up the paper, and looked at the photo. "You look angry." "I wasn't angry at you, sweetheart. It was a misunderstanding. But I was scared." The silence returned. Margaret tried to touch his hand, but he pulled away. And in that simple gesture, she felt something break. It wasn't pride. It was control. The following hours were a parade of losses. The clothing brand canceled her contract. The foundation suspended her. Online hashtags called for a boycott. But what hurt most was seeing Claire's name among the top trending topics. The nanny who knew how to love. Margaret read the comments, each word like a stab. She was never a mother, just a manager of her own child. Money can't buy what she tried to buy. The boy just wanted affection, and she gave him punishment. That night she drank alone. She opened the video from the party like someone staring at her own crime. Frame by frame, she saw more than she wanted to admit. The contempt in her eyes, the pride, the fake smile, the boy crying. And for the first time she saw what the world saw, an empty woman screaming not to drown. Outside, the mansion gates were covered in flowers, messages left by strangers. For Claire, with love. For the boy who reminded us what it means to be human. Each flower was a thorn in her ego. The next morning, Margaret tried to leave the house. The gate opened and flashes blinded her. Reporters shouted questions. "Do you regret it? Did Claire save your son? Is it true Noah doesn't want to see you anymore?" She shoved a photographer. "Get out of my way." But someone shouted from the back of the crowd, "Say you're sorry, lady. Shame is the first step toward love." She froze. The crowd judged her, the same crowd that had once worshipped her. And suddenly, she felt anger not at the world, but at herself. At that same moment, Claire received an unexpected invitation. A TV show wanted to interview her. "I don't want fame," she said. "But you can tell your story," insisted the producer. "People need to hear your side." Claire hesitated. Then she looked at the clock, the same one she'd worn at the party, and answered, "I'm not going to defend myself. I'm going to talk about what love does when it's ignored." Across the city, Margaret saw the announcement for the interview and went mad. "She's going to destroy me," she shouted, throwing her phone against the wall. "She's turning my pain into a stage." Richard tried to step in. "No one needs to destroy you, Margaret. You've already done that yourself." She shoved him. "You're taking her side now?" "No. I'm defending what's left of you. If there's anything left." The interview aired live. Claire sat before the cameras, her face calm, her voice steady. "I don't want to fight," she said. "I just want people to remember that love is action, not talk. I didn't have money, but I had time. And sometimes time is what's most missing in big houses." The audience fell silent. Margaret watched from the mansion, alone, the wine glass trembling in her hand. When the host asked, "Do you hate Margaret Hollingsworth?" Claire replied, "No, I just feel sorry for her. Because the worst punishment is realizing too late that no one loves you for free." Margaret dropped the glass. The sound of shattering echoed through the empty house. That night she tried calling Claire. The phone rang and went to voicemail. She called Richard, but he didn't answer. She called her mother, and then remembered her mother had never been there. The silence was absolute. Then she heard small footsteps. Noah, in the hallway. "Did you see Claire on TV?" he asked. "I did," she said, swallowing her pride. "She spoke beautifully. She said what I feel," the boy replied. She took a deep breath. "Do you still love Mommy?" He thought for a moment, then answered with the innocent cruelty of children. "I do, but I like her more." Margaret broke down. Her whole body trembled. She fell to her knees, crying loudly for the first time. No audience, no makeup. The crying was ugly, human, desperate. "I ruined everything," she whispered. "Everything." Noah stepped closer, hesitant, and placed the teddy bear in her lap. "She said things can be fixed," he whispered. Margaret hugged the toy and her son, but when she looked at him, she realized he wasn't crying. He was looking at her with pity, and that's when she understood the real punishment. It wasn't losing contracts, fame, or money. It was losing the silent respect of a child. The next morning, the cameras returned. She went down the stairs and opened the gate. The reporters expected another scandal, but she was different. No jewelry, no makeup, her face swollen from crying. She walked up to the microphone and said, "My son called me a stranger, and he was right." The flashes went off. "I spent my life buying everything and lost what money can't buy. Claire didn't steal anything from me. She just showed me what I never had the courage to be." The whole country watched. Some laughed, others went quiet. But for the first time, the silence wasn't of shame, it was of impact. And Claire, at home, saw the scene on TV and cried, not out of revenge, but because at that moment the whole world finally understood what she had known from the beginning. Love doesn't win by shouting. It wins when the other finally learns to listen. The week began with hatred, not from the internet, from her. Margaret woke up every day with the bitter taste of humiliation and the same phrase pounding in her head. "She's more of a mother than you." That sentence was the real virus, and now it ran through her veins. The newspapers, the networks, the videos, nothing would die. With every attempt to erase it, 10 copies reappeared. She hired lawyers, threatened lawsuits, demanded retractions, but the truth, like a wine stain, only spread. "I'm going to destroy that woman," she told her aide, her voice cold, sharp. "Margaret, any move now might look desperate," he replied cautiously. "Good. Desperation is human, and that's what people love to see. I'll give them a show." And she did. 2 days later, she called a press conference. She entered wearing a white dress, the rehearsed symbol of purity and control. Flawless hair, emotionless makeup. "I'm here to clarify," she began with the same voice that had once bought audiences. "I was a victim of manipulation. An employee crossed the line and turned a child against his own mother. I don't hate that woman. I pity her." The final sentence came out like poison wrapped in perfume. The audience didn't clap. The silence was brutal. And when she tried to smile, her face looked like a cracked statue, soulless. Hours later, the video of the conference went viral. Not because of what she said, but because of what everyone saw. The boy, sitting in the audience, hiding behind a chair, crying. The cameras had caught him by accident, and his tears did what nothing else could, turned her arrogance into a moral crime. The internet exploded. She makes her son cry even during her apology. Pity her? No. Pity him. This woman is the portrait of emptiness. Noah locked himself in his room. Richard tried to step in. "Leave him," said Margaret. "He needs to learn the world doesn't revolve around tears. It doesn't revolve around your ego either," replied her husband. She turned, eyes sharp. "You talk like you have the guts to leave me. Maybe I do. I'm just not sure I have the strength to watch what you're becoming." She laughed. "I'm becoming who I've always been, the woman no one touches." But the world began to touch her. In the streets, horns, jeers, cameras, women spitting on the ground as she passed, posters with the boy's phrase, "She's more of a mother than you," plastered on the foundation's doors. Stocks collapsing. The name Hollingsworth, once a synonym for prestige, now a synonym for contempt. "This is envy," she said, watching the news. "No, it's consequence," Richard replied. "Don't lecture me," she snapped, gripping her wine glass. "I did what any mother would do, defended my role. I didn't lose, I fought." Against what, Margaret? Against love? Against the theater. Noah walked into the room at that moment, his face pale, his eyes tired. They were talking about Claire at school. Said she's nice. And what did you say? Margaret asked. That she is. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Go to your room. I don't want to. Go now. You only know how to give orders. The boy's scream split the air. She raised her hand, but froze mid-air, the very reflection of the mother she had hated as a child. She lowered her hand slowly, breathing heavily. I won't let anyone take you from me. You already lost me, Mom. He ran off. Margaret was left alone, with the blood-red wine dripping among the shards on the floor. The next morning, a new headline filled the screens. Son of Margaret Hollingsworth leaves home to live with father. Karma didn't warn. It just arrived. Drones hovered over the mansion. Neighbors whispered. The security team quit. And still, she sat at the mirror, putting on makeup as if nothing had happened. They think they destroyed me, she said, staring at her reflection. But no one destroys what was born without remorse. Hours later, the press captured an iconic image. Margaret alone in the mansion's garden, the same place where it all began, holding a glass of champagne surrounded by protest signs and cameras, with a frozen smile on her face, as if she still believed the world belonged to her. The caption went viral. Some ask for forgiveness, others toast to their own ruin. The news spread fast. Margaret Hollingsworth abandons her own mansion. A driver had dropped her off at the private airport at 6 in the morning. No luggage, no declared destination. The most powerful woman in Chicago vanished like a marble ghost, leaving behind only silence, scandal, and the echo of her own voice. I didn't lose. I fought. The mansion remained closed, covered in dust and news cameras. But the world moved on. And while the name Margaret still appeared in headlines as a synonym for arrogance, another name began to take its place. Claire Dawson, the nanny. The woman who had been humiliated, exposed, and ridiculed was now hailed as a symbol of genuine love. Invitations, interviews, awards from foundations, tributes. She refused almost all of them. She only said, I didn't save anyone. I just loved someone who needed it. Even with her calm face, her heart still felt heavy. Sometimes at night she remembered the boy, the hug, the fear, the laughter. Love doesn't fade with distance. It only changes form. A month later, fate reunited what was still alive inside them. Richard appeared at her door holding Noah by the hand. The boy, taller, quieter, clutched the teddy bear like a shield. He asked to come, said his father. Claire knelt down, and the boy ran to her. The hug was long, true, as if the two were breathing the same air after being trapped underwater for too long. She cried, but not from pain. It was the cry of someone who finally sees the wound close. She's gone, Noah said softly. Claire ran her hand through his hair. And you? I stayed. And you'll be okay. Do you think she'll come back? People who don't listen to their own hearts always return to emptiness, she said. But I hope emptiness teaches her what I never could. Richard looked at the 2 generations of love before him and realized that there in that simple living room was everything the Hollingsworth fortune had never been able to buy. Truth. He sighed. Claire, the world admires you, but what I admire most is that you never needed to win to be right. She looked at him. Justice isn't victory, Richard. It's balance. In the days that followed, the city began talking about a new image, one no one expected to see. Margaret's mansion, once a symbol of power, was now surrounded by people. The press showed a makeshift sign hanging on the gate, for sale. But what drew attention were the flowers, hundreds of them, left by strangers with notes for Claire and Noah. Among them, a letter with no sender, handwritten. It said simply, "The love I tried to silence bloomed in the garden that destroyed me." There was no signature, but the scent of the paper was the same perfume Margaret used to wear. Claire read it in silence. She placed the letter in a drawer and never spoke of it again. Some said Margaret had fled to Europe. Others, that she lived alone in a small house with no name on the door, no mirrors. But no one ever saw her again. Time passed, and one random Sunday, a small school event became a moment of emotion. It was Noah's recital. He stepped onto the stage, took the microphone and said, "This song is for the one who taught me what love is." The audience expected him to say his mother's name, but he looked at Claire and said, "For the one who stayed when everyone else left." The applause was spontaneous, warm, real. Claire cried silently. Richard did too. The boy smiled, the kind of smile that closes one story and opens another. Outside, the wind blew strong, as if life itself wanted to erase the last trace of arrogance. And in the same garden where it all began, the flowers Margaret had once planted grew freely, without an owner. No one knew who tended them, but every week, someone left a new note. Those who plant pain harvest silence. Those who plant love harvest eternity. The city woke up different. The name Hollingsworth no longer meant luxury. Now it was synonymous with shame. Magazines spoke of her the way one speaks of a tragic legend, someone who fell from such a height that the ground still echoed. The empire was sold quietly. Old employees dismissed, carpets rolled up, paintings taken down. And in the middle of what remained, Margaret walked back and forth, her heels sinking into the dust of the empty house. She didn't cry. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't accept the end. I didn't lose anything, she repeated to herself. They just never understood me. But the city no longer bought excuses. People chuckled softly when her name came up. Others said, "Time did what justice couldn't." Meanwhile, Claire was living a different story. The same woman who once left the mansion with her face wet with shame now smiled among children at a community center she had helped to found. It wasn't a big school, nor did it have a golden plaque, but it had what Margaret's whole life lacked: truth. There she helped single mothers, teaching what no one had taught her, that love isn't a reward, it's care. And still, she never drifted away from Noah. The boy grew up between his father's home and her affection, free of guilt. He called Claire by her name and Margaret Mom, but the difference between the two was in everything silence revealed. Margaret, in her new house, watched it all from afar. She saw the interviews, the tributes, the articles praising Claire, and each time she heard her name, her jaw tightened. "So she's a saint now?" she muttered bitterly. People love to invent martyrs, but the worst came from where she least expected. One random afternoon, she turned on the TV and saw Noah, her son, at one of Claire's events, reading a text in front of the cameras. The boy in a simple uniform held the microphone with both hands and said firmly, "I learned that love is who stays, and that shouting isn't teaching, it's pushing away." The audience applauded. Margaret dropped the remote. The sound echoed through the empty house. She walked to the window. Outside, no one waited for her. No one hated her anymore. No one loved her. And that was when the real punishment began. Not the world's hatred, but indifference. Because the opposite of love was never anger. It was forgetting. In the following days, the video of Noah went viral. The caption read, "The son of the woman who shouted now teaches what silence means." The entire country shared it, and for the first time the world saw Claire not as a victim but as a mirror, a reminder of everything money erases but never replaces. Margaret tried to fight back. She wrote letters to her son, sent messages, expensive gifts. No response. Richard returned everything politely with a simple note. He doesn't need things. He needs peace. She tore the paper apart, trembling with rage. But when she looked in the mirror, she saw something worse than anger. The void. The woman who once controlled everything could no longer control her own reflection. One night, she went out without bodyguards, without makeup, just to breathe different air. She walked to the gate of the old mansion, now under new ownership. The garden was still in bloom, the same one where everything had begun. She leaned against the iron bars and stood there, motionless, watching the flowers sway in the wind. A neighbor recognized her, filmed from a distance. The next day, the video went viral. It showed Margaret alone, in front of the closed gate, hands gripping the bars. The caption read, "Some punishments don't need screams, only memories." Time passed, and the world forgot the scandal, as it always does. But what no one forgot, neither those who watched nor those who lived it, was the echo of a phrase that seemed to have a soul. "She's more of a mother than you." Years later, the video still circulated online, re-edited, discussed, used in lectures about empathy and power. People spoke of Claire as a symbol, never realizing she hated that word. Symbols don't feel, don't fail, don't bleed, and she had bled inside every day since the night of the party. The children's center thrived. Colors on the walls, laughter, voices. the sweet smell of homemade bread drifting from the kitchen. Claire walked the halls like someone guarding the heart of her own past. Noah, now a teenager, helped with the activities. That once fragile, sad boy had become the kind of young man who made the world breathe easier. Polite, calm, whole. One day a reporter showed up curious. "Can I do a story about you, Claire? About overcoming?" She smiled, tired. "It's not overcoming. It's consequence." "And about Mrs. Hollingsworth? Can I mention her name?" Claire paused, looked out at the playground full of children and replied, "Let the past rest. It's already learned to listen to me." Across town, Margaret was still alive too. Thinner, older, quieter. She lived in a small apartment. No staff, no full-length mirrors. Every day she watered a pot of white flowers on the windowsill, the same kind that once grew in the mansion's garden. She never spoke to Claire again, never apologized, but she never shouted again. Sometimes she went out early to walk the streets and heard murmurs. People who still recognized her, people who remembered. But the public's hatred, the one that once wounded her, was now only a distant noise. The real punishment was subtler. No one wanted to be her. One spring afternoon, Margaret passed by the children's center. No one recognized her. She stood across the street watching the children run, the drawings on the windows and Claire smiling among them. Noah was there too, tall, cheerful, with the same gentle eyes she once tried to control. For a moment, Margaret smiled, not out of love or regret, out of realization. It was the look of someone who understands, too late, that she lost the role of protagonist in her own story. A little girl tripped at the gate and fell. Claire rushed over, helped her up, cleaned her knee, and hugged her. The scene was so simple it hurt. Margaret turned away, held the small vase of flowers she carried, and left a single white rose by the gate before walking away. No one saw her do it. But later, Noah found the flower and asked, "Mommy Claire, who left this here?" She looked at the gate, at the horizon, and answered, "Someone who finally learned how to be silent." The wind blew strong, scattering petals along the sidewalk. Noah smiled. And there, on the corner where past and present met for an instant, the universe found its balance. Karma didn't shout. It didn't punish. It didn't forgive. It simply balanced. Margaret kept on living, surrounded by what was left. Claire kept whole, surrounded by what she built. And Noah, the boy who began it all, grew up knowing the lesson no adult had managed to teach, that love isn't about who wins, it's about who stays when pride leaves. If you believe karma never fails, subscribe now. Every week there's a new story to remind you that, in the end, life always collects what's due. Stay tuned for another moving story now playing on your screen. See you there.